reportedly stepped up military exercises and has been...
The bitch did it! She went to Taiwan!
What's known as the median line in the Taiwan Strait, which is viewed as a...
I'm just gonna pause that there. Like, I don't even care what else they're talking about. Like, I'm sure we'll get viewers pouring in. I just paid for StreamYard so we can go all fucking day now on this shit. It looks like we are watching the start of World War III happen live. I'm hoping that people eventually show up. Be fun to talk to people. I can't fucking believe this shit. So, basically, we've now built up this fucking pissing match with China over going to Taiwan. And China is a country where the idea of face and the idea of saving face is huge. Nancy Pelosi, by going to Taiwan now, after what has been said, just spat in the face of Xi Jinping. Live, on air, in front of the whole fucking world. So, like, I don't know. I think we're probably going to war. They were already going to invade this fall. October was my prediction. And the reason I was predicting that is because September, October is when the tides are right. It's August now. So, shit, I need to get my fucking muffler fixed. I know that seems like a petty thing now, but, like, I really think we're about to fucking not be able to get shit fixed for a while. I think they're going to be doing drafts. I don't know how bad this gets. I really don't know what China's going to do in response to this. Maybe they do nothing. But, like, if they do nothing, then I would expect an invasion this fall. I really didn't think they were going to send her to Taiwan. I thought this was a bunch of talk or something, and she'd, like, fly from Thailand to Japan and scare them or some shit. I really can't believe she just did this. I think she's really going to die. I think there's a 50-50 shot her plane gets fucking wiped out over the Pacific. The Chinese are more than capable of doing that. Motherfucker. I would watch world news for the next 48 hours really, really close, boys. I've been kind of like watching this in the background of shit and thinking, oh yeah, war with China's probably coming or whatever. I didn't think that she was stupid enough to actually go to fucking Taiwan right now. Especially not and do it the way she did, where you tell everybody that you're going to go before you go. Like, if she just showed up there, that'd be one thing. But, like, this is the first time someone that high in our government has been in Taiwan since the 90s. It's like 93, 97, somewhere in there. It was Newt Gingrich went there. It's a big deal when someone like this goes to fucking Taiwan. And Xi just said that we would die in fire if she went there. I could take him at his word. I think he's going to attack. I don't think it's going to go nuclear. I think they're just going to invade Taiwan and dare us to do something about it. And at the same time, Russia's going to heat things up in the Ukraine a lot. And right now, they're just questioning our status as a superpower. That's what's going on here. And the only response to this really is we have to defend Taiwan. So Russia's probably just going to take the Ukraine unless the Europeans keep helping them. The U.S.'s entire efforts are going to have to be focused on fighting this war in Taiwan now. And the reason we have to do that is because if China takes Taiwan intact, they own the chip industry. So we can't let them take it intact. So we're going to fight to the fucking death and burn everything on our way out. We'll take all the Taiwanese with us. We might not be able to hold Taiwan, but we can damn sure not let them take it. The chip industry that they want. That's why they're already moving that shit to fucking Arizona. They started that process, 6 months ago? I would guess all of the most advanced shit in the world has already been moved. I think there are people in the US Army higher up that think like me, and they're probably telling them, China and us are going to war. It's not if, it's when. It's, do you want to go to war now or do you want to go to war in 2070? We're going to war. It's because of shit that they're doing and shit that we're doing, and it goes against one another. And like this shit, it eventually fucking happens. And I don't think now is a particularly good time for us to go to war, but it looks like war is upon us whether we would want it or not. You know, we're fucking Theoden right now getting told by Gandalf to get off his fucking ass, I guess. We're going to go kill fucking Chinamen. I foresee virtually everyone under 50 being drafted as a drone pilot. I think that's how we fight this war. I think we could probably have an industrial capability like Taiwan has to build those chips and shit in Arizona pretty damn quick, especially if we're just moving their machines and personnel, which is exactly what they're doing. I would think so, little Jesus. If she gets shot down, I would think that means we're at war. And any war with China at this point is probably going to be a war with China and Russia and Iran and a few other people. And if I were Iran and I saw the US and China going to war, Israel and I would be going to war. Because I fucking, if I were Iran, I would hate Israel with a passion, right? I want to wipe them out eventually. And now their big guard dog is busy. So let's get with it while the getting's good. Any war between China and America is going to cause the entire globe to fall into fucking conflict. You're going to see Africans fighting with sticks with Chinese and American fucking flags. It's going to be outrageous. I was watching The Wind and the Lion recently, right? If you watch that movie, there's a scene where Teddy Roosevelt's boys are sitting in a thing in Tangiers plotting what would eventually become World War I and toasting to, well, if this goes bad, we'll at least have triggered a world war. That'd be something to go out on, wouldn't it? A world war. It was just foreshadowing what was to come in World War I. They're doing it again. Like, somebody somewhere has the itch. Maybe it's just, that's what COVID did. It gave everybody itchy trigger fingers. But, like, in my view, the fucking four horsemen are riding. Like, we have pestilence. We're not having famine. Looks like war is here. Death's coming. Sweet Lady Death. I don't know, man. I'm really curious to see what the rest of the news is today after, I was sitting here just kind of cruising through shit, and the story was 96 minutes ago from CBS News that she arrives in Taiwan. And I'm like, oh shit, I guess that just happened. That's all I know. I think this is proof positive that someone is running the country, and Biden and Pelosi are like puppets that work for them. Like, I don't know if that's George Soros. I don't know if that's like Hitler. Maybe they have Hitler's brain in a computerized body or some shit, and now it's running the country. These are on the table now for what could be happening given the fucking strangeness in the news. Like, I think for sure and for certain the like Ukrainian mob and the Democratic Party are now like one and the same organization. Pretty sure that the reason there's so many old people in Washington is because their children are using them as puppets to commit crimes. Well, mom did that. I had nothing to do with that. I just ran the business and did lots and lots of meth with cameras mounted to my head. And I'm Hunter Biden. Vote for me for Congress. That's coming soon. I can't wait for Dwayne the Rock Johnson to get the balls to run for president because that's just going to be hilarious. We're literally going to be living in idiocracy when that happens, and it's going to be in response to this bullshit. I guarantee you. Like, I think we're going to be a fascist dictatorial state pretty damn quick because of this war. We're set up for it. Like, they've already formed their little Hitler Youth Starship Troopers out of like all these trans kids and crazy fucks that they've got that, realize that they basically have no future, so they might as well go die a horrible death in space. There's some of that going on, I think, and they're getting ready to like unleash those kids in some sort of technological nightmares on Asia. That's what I see. Or we're completely fucked because none of that shit is ready, which is highly likely. Like, I've seen most of the prototype shit that they were developing of like the mech suits and stuff. And most of it was ready to go except for a power source that lasted more than like 4 hours. And like battery technology has come a ways. So I wonder if they are like months or years away from releasing some sort of like Halo like suit that it's going to be like, we'll put these pod people children that we've raised into these fucking battle armor things and they'll be, gods. Be wearing necklaces made of skulls and shit on their battle armor. More than likely, we're all going to die. I feel like John C. Reilly in King Kong when he's like riding along with everybody. He's like, "You boys are a good bunch of boys to die with." That's how this is going to go. This does not end well. That's true. They are greedy, and honestly, they are kind of cowards. I wonder they do something, and then like what they do is like launch a missile at Taiwan, and what we do is like nuke Beijing. That's how I would handle it if I were them. If they hit you with a tack hammer, I would hit them with a sledgehammer. If they stab you with a knife, I'd kill them with a sword. If they shoot you, I'd blow them up. The Untouchables. It's a great movie. They put one of yours in the hospital. You put one of theirs in the morgue. Getting messages on Discord. I'll have to read that later. Who knows? With Little Jesus says, hopefully all these UFOs are actually advanced military technology that the government has developed and will keep us top dogs. See, I think that could go either way. Like, I've heard stories of some of these UFOs defending Al-Qaeda shit. So I think some of the UFOs are us, but I think some of the UFOs are definitely not us. And, like, I think shit's about to get weird. I think they flipped CERN on the other day, and my world got weird. And I don't know what that was about, but I think it has something to do with all of this. And the wanky marshmallow saying China is so greedy, we buy so much shit from them that I don't know if they'd be willing to trade that for war. They would have to make this uninhabitable to invade, and at that point, it's pointless. Yeah, I agree. Like, whether we're talking here or in Taiwan, like, they want Taiwan for its chip industry. They would like to just absorb it. That's their goal. If they had the monopoly on that, there's a substantial portion of the planet that they would just control. It'd be like controlling the oil. So until we got secondary production up in the US, which would take a couple of years, and we already started that 6 months ago, but like, even then, I don't know. It would seem like that would give them a significant advantage. And I think that's why you're going to see, if they do even start putting ground troops in Taiwan, there might be fail safes about some of those chip facilities and shit. Like, I would, like, when I say a fail safe, I mean, like, if you don't type in the numbers every fucking day, the whole thing blows up. Small nuclear device, large conventional device, whatever it is, I wouldn't let any of that shit fall into the hands of the fucking Chinese. And this is, in essence, why, if they do start invading Taiwan, we're going to war with them. It's not if, it's we're going to be in a full-scale World War II style, declaring war on another nation, sailing the entire fucking U.S. Navy to China to cut the fucking head off the dragon. And it's going to be something to behold. I'm wondering how many of us they're going to draft if they can, use people as drone pilots. They'll separate people out into like physically qualified to go to fucking, basic or whatever, and people that are just going to play fucking video games for the government. Because that's going to be a huge thing. They're going to need like Utah full of fucking people just working joysticks. You imagine how many like aircraft carriers you could have launching, motorcycle-sized drones that fly, quadcopters and shit. Wanky Marshall, that might be very, very true. Everybody's got a computer and shit. Like, do your part for America and kill terrorists or Chinese people. The Chinese are going to do that shit too, though. I wonder how good the Chinese tech is compared to ours. Because, like, whatever we're using right now is probably more advanced than their shit, but we have stuff that's in development now that could be rapidly brought up to speed that is way beyond their shit on everything. That's just the nature of our military technology. We are the like cutting edge of that shit. Unless China and Russia have been keeping a lot of shit secret for a long time too, but I just don't see that because they don't have the money. But Russia does have hypersonic weapons now, but I really don't see how much of a difference that makes other than the nuclear thing. Basically, it means Russia's nuclear threat is there again, so they have negotiating power at the table, and they are claiming their sphere of influence. I think that's partially what's making China step up, is they know that they've negotiated Putin, right? Obviously, they didn't back away from him when the rest of the world did. Maybe that's because now China falls under Russia's nuclear umbrella. So now they're claiming, Southeast Asia as their sphere of influence. Like, I think we're going into a unipolar world. People keep saying we're going into a bipolar world. That's not really true. I think we're going into a world where, like, well, there's the Europeans, right? They're a thing, like the EU and England. Then there's North America is a thing. Mexico, I don't know where they go, but like Canada and the US are kind of tied at the hip because of geography. And then there's like India is a rising power. The Saudi Arabians are going to form some sort of caliphate. That's my prediction. And they're going to rule the entire Muslim world. That's the thing no one's even seen. That's the dark horse out of nowhere. Saudi Arabia has one of the best equipped armies in the world now. You're welcome. And I don't know. I see that a lot of what we did in the Middle East has opened up the path for jihad. Like, it's all destabilized. It's all Muslim as fuck. They've all clung to their religion and their guns. And now, like, it's maybe Armageddon. Hearing fighter planes fly over. Feels like 9/11. Winky Marshall. I hope we have held on to some technological secret since we've given them the blueprints to almost everything because we'd rather have shit made. Yeah. So I know for a fact that anything used by the U.S. military is Barry Act compliant, right? So, like, maybe we've given them some secrets to some chips and components that we need in some things, but we haven't given them away the keys to the kingdom. Like, maybe their spies have taken some shit. That's the crazy part about China is they have really good spies, from what I understand. So they might have all sorts of shit. But I doubt very much that, like, the Bob Lazar shit, that, like, we debate whether or not it's real in this country, I doubt they have any of that. And I think the reality is, whoever that was that hired Bob Lazar has figured out how to make at least a couple more of those things. And how many of those would you need to rule all of Asia? You equip them with nukes or whatever. That's my other concern. Besides the giant Muslim jihad out of nowhere in all of this, is who has what tech. Because, like, if you believe some of the stories, the thing that crashed at Roswell was from South America. So what if, Argentina is the dark horse out of nowhere with the UFO technology? I think someone's waiting for basically the U.S. to be at its weakest point and to have a war on multiple fronts, and then someone's going to unveil that they hold this shit. And maybe it's multiple people. Well, Jesus says the calm before the storm. That's like in the Return of the King, and they're like watching the storm off in the distance, knowing the orcs are coming. It's like that. Except we're waiting for Nancy Pelosi to get iced, which honestly, I'm not disappointed. But, like, I was hoping that it wouldn't cause World War III. Is that so bad? Like, again, I prayed to God for shit. Prayed to God for Nancy Pelosi to die. Oops. He's answering all my prayers lately. Either that or maybe I'm just, like, getting really high and watching the news and forgetting about it. It's possible. So does anyone know, has anything happened on the news, or what are they saying? Maybe I should have a feed open. I got a thing from Truth Social telling me that Nancy Pelosi is there, so, you know. Trump's on his toes. Nancy Pelosi, Taiwan news. I'm curious to see how quick the Chinese respond to this. Like, looks like it's been hitting the international news in the last hour or so. Al Jazeera, China announces military drills. Okay, so that could mean that they're going to invade. Like, a common tactic for people, especially like what Russia just did, was to get their own troops mobilized without telling them what's really going on. They announced a bunch of military drills. They get people on the move, and then once they're under move and don't have information, soldiers are a lot more what's it called? They do what you say no matter what. Because like now they're in a group of guys and in a fucking armored vehicle and rolling, and like it's a good way to start a war. I think it's likely we see China pull some shit in the next 48 hours, especially if they're announcing military drills. Let's see what else Al Jazeera has to say. Not that I trust them, but like if anyone's going to know what China's doing. Alaska's Republican senator says we can't let the Chinese dictate American travel. We're all going to die. The Chinese are hacking shit, apparently. Hacktivists. I don't know whose side the hacktivists are on, though. It must be anti-Chinese by the sound of this story. Ooh, China to launch targeted military operations. The Chinese military has been put on high alert and will launch targeted military operations in response to Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Chinese Defense Ministry says so. They're attacking. They're telling the international news that they're attacking. What the flying fuck is going on? Like, why would they tell us that? That's crazy. Separately, the People's Liberation Army's Eastern Theater Command said it will conduct joint military operations near Taiwan starting Tuesday night and will test launch conventional missiles in the sea east of Taiwan. So, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, probably somewhere in there they're going to go. Like, if they're going to start fucking with them Tuesday, they're probably going pretty soon after that. 26 Senate Republicans have issued statements saying in support of Pelosi's Taiwan visit. This group includes Mitch McConnell. That's not surprising. Iran condemns destabilizing Pelosi trip. Honestly, if I were Iran, I would just be like, fuck yeah, let's go. Like, we fuck with them a lot. I kind of feel bad for Iran. Like, they're weirdos and they have their own religion and they believe in Hitler and a lot of other shit, but, you know, they're kind of retarded. You know, at a certain point, you feel bad for like a retarded puppy, even if it is like wearing a Hitler Youth uniform and, you know, trying to kill the Jews. It's just sad to me that anyone could be as fucking like brainwashed as those people. And not even that they're necessarily more or less brainwashed than some people here in the US, but they definitely believe some crazy shit and some wrong shit, in my opinion. Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanani said in a statement the trip constitutes an intervention in the domestic affairs of China. Oh, that's interesting. And a violation of its territorial integrity, which will lead to nothing but increasing destabilization and differences. The Islamic Republic of Iran views respect for territorial integrity of other countries as a basis of its foreign policy, and supporting the One China policy within this framework is indubitable, he said. So I wonder how many countries were already in on this, and how big of an evil axis or whatever we're facing. Because like it's pretty clear it's Russia, China, and Iran by the sound of that. Like I don't think the Saudis are our friends anymore, but I don't know that they're aligned with these people. They might be doing their own thing. I doubt very much the Saudis and Iran are on the same side. If so, that's interesting. Like the Mexicans had been flirting with these people, and so had the Indians. Like India at this point would like to get cheap shit from China and cheap gas from Russia, and would like to not go to war in Asia. And I think that's a smart play for India. So I foresee them going in that direction. Everything else in Asia is pretty much one or the other of theirs. And like the real threat of this now is this war is going to spread, and Europe is an easy target, and it's valuable shit. Like if I were in Europe right now, I would be getting ready to be invaded, and likely by Russia, but maybe even China. Believe it or not, like there's places that China has footholds in Europe already, from what I understand. Places that they backed in various conflicts. That as this conflict grows, you're going to see new fronts open. Like that's an inevitable thing with this. Um, there's already a front open, really, in the Ukraine with Russia, so it's not that crazy to think that expands. Africa is going to be a fucking crazy shit fuck mess. It already is, but like it's already China and America funding warlords to go at each other and shit. So I don't know how much worse that's going to get, but like if we start landing conventional forces and shit there, that could get squirrely. Australia's probably really fucked. If I were in Australia right now, I think I would be like digging holes and burying guns and supplies and like building a fucking like watch the new Rambo movie. That's what I would be building if I lived in Australia right now. Like his little tunnel system. That's how well those people are going to have to be prepared for this shit. It, there's nothing good coming their way. It's like China, in reality, it doesn't consider that their territory or whatever, but they also don't like fucking English for a lot of reasons, which they consider the Australians English and us English, and anyone that speaks English to be English. That's yeah. I think we're gonna see them go after Australia just because they can. Eventually, I don't know when that happens. Be after they beat our Pacific Fleet, probably. And like, if you're wondering how that's gonna happen, assuming we don't have crazy weapons that we don't know about, they're on land and we're on ships. It's only a matter of time until they sink all of our ships. They're developing weapons to shoot at aircraft carriers, and they have nukes. Like, it's not that hard to kill a fleet of boats when you have nukes. Like, this is what some of our tests in the Pacific were all about. We wanted to see what a hydrogen bomb would do to, like, a fleet. So we had a bunch of World War II vessels out there, and we saw what happened. As it turns out, they go away. I can't believe she went to fucking Taiwan. Let's see if there's anything else in this news. Pelosi says her trip to highlight Taiwan's vibrant democracy. Somehow I doubt Taiwan has a vibrant democracy. Just knowing what I know about the world, it's probably a lot like Korea, where like, hey, he was elected dictator for life again. That kind of was the case in both of the Koreas for a while. It's better than that now, but at least like during the Korean War, Syngman Rhee or whatever his name was just like Kim Jong Un. He was like a god dictator thing that just ran the whole thing. And he was on our side, so we made him do better shit than Kim Jong Un. Like, there's so much shit like that in the world where like it's not necessarily that we're good. It's that the people that are on the other side are pure scum. I think it's funny that like the darkness creeps back no matter what. In Tolkien's stuff for his sequel to Lord of the Rings, he only wrote like 2 chapters of a thing called The Growing Darkness, and it was all about like some witches and shit spreading darkness throughout the land and bringing back ancient evils. And it sounds a lot like now. I wish he would have finished that book. You can look up that story. It's a good story. Fucking Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi's plane has touched down in Taiwan. Guess I'm going through Al Jazeera backwards. China vows to retaliate. This should be interesting. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said Washington's betrayal on the Taiwan issue is bankrupting its national credibility. I'm not sure how that is, but okay. Some American politicians are playing with fire on the issue of Taiwan, Wang said in the statement. This will definitely not have a good outcome. The exposure of America's bullying face again shows it as the world's biggest saboteur of peace. So they're trying to paint it as though we're starting this war by just acknowledging that Taiwan is a sovereign state, which it is. So I really can't wait for this war to start and for us to get to fucking hunt down all those fucking big tech fucks with links to China. This is going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to America if it works right. Because we're going to sever every fucking tie with China, and there's going to be a lot of these fucks that end up in prison because of their links to China. I'm guessing the Bidens are going to be in that group. I think the Facebook and Google and Twitter people are all going to be in that group. Like, if this is where we're really going, there's going to be a lot of people whose loyalty is up for questioning. That's going to be scary. This is what's going to lead us to fucking Starship Troopers and shit and being a fascist state. They're going to start hunting down people that are sympathetic for China. You know, I'm really glad that I have always been vehemently anti-China. And thanks, America, or whatever. Just leave me and my minivan alone. Yeah, I'm sure the Clintons have extensive ties to China. I think this is what the Chinese are seeing, is that like some American politicians are bought and paid for by them, and they think that this means that they can do as they wish. And in reality, they're finding out that they don't own anybody, I think. You give me money, and you think this gives you power over me? That kind of thing. Like, I don't know where this ends. I'm probably going to cut this off at an hour, but I wanted to make some sort of video about this. I think this is world news. I think this means we are at war. I think China's already moving her forces. I think we've kind of been in the phony war stage of World War II. Or no, sorry, World War II, World War One. That had the Ford Pony War. It was World War II. Yeah, that where like everyone was at war or whatever, but no one was fighting yet. I think that's kind of where it's been ever since Russia invaded the Ukraine. I think that was like the first move on the chessboard. And a lot of people were going, "Are we playing chess? Are we playing chess?" Yes, dear sweet Virginia, we are playing chess. That's what drives me nuts is talking to people about fucking the world when they live in a world that they don't even get why we do the things we do, or that basically, oh, there's, you know, the Roman Empire section of the world that is the West, and then there's the Muslim world, and then there's like Russia, which is its own thing, and then there's like China and most of Southeast Asia, which is kind of its own thing too. And you're never going to go into any of those other spheres and really influence them. You might be able to take a piece of it. And like this is the thing that we've really been trying to do for a while is like worm our little Roman Empire into other fucking places. And people are getting a little sick of it. Also, we've made the mistake of giving away too much shit to the Chinese, I think. I think it's evident. Because, like, China after World War II was not a match for us in any way, shape, or form. That was proven in Korea. They were sending human waves at us, and we were just shooting all of their soldiers. That's what happens when you don't run out of bullets and there's a human wave. Like, China was not in World War One, really. Like, they've had their own wars and whatever with machine guns and stuff, but they didn't get to experience what happens when Europeans fight that way. At least not until Korea. That was where they learned that shit. Like I don't know what they're going to be like to fight now, but they're all wearing laser goggles and night vision and shit and body armor. So you might want to be concerned. My question is, how many of them have that shit? My guess is not all of them. I think there's a whole bunch of the Chinese that still have SKSs. But if they're sending their top tier assault forces into Taiwan, like who knows what that's going to be. The cool part is Taiwan has some bitching fucking defense forces. I like the Taiwanese. Like if we're really going to go to war over something, I think Chiang Kai-shek's descendants are as good a reason as any. It's one of those in Red Dawn when he said, when they get the pilot Powers Booth with them, and he's talking about why all this started. He's like, maybe it's inevitable. I think that's much the case here. This is an inevitable conflict that someone on high has made the decision to go now, I guess, because there's no other reason to send Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan right now. Like, unless they think that they're playing chicken with these people and China's just going to back down. In the situation we're in right now, China's not going to back down. We're going to have to prove this shit. I think the Democrats are just so stupid that they don't think anyone would ever go to war. Just negotiate. At a certain point, when you start pissing off enough people and just keep negotiating and shit the way these people do, Genghis Khan rises up and forms an empire and comes and shoots you in the head. That's what happens. That's what happens when you like oppress people. Like you create the Joker, right? Except the Joker is like one of these foreign leaders that they've been fucking with. And it's not even Putin or Xi, I don't think. like again, in all of this, the thing that I see is that there's going to be a caliphate formed in the Muslim world out of all this wreckage. It's going to rule the planet. Yeah, I don't know why she's there other than to see a chip factory. There's something else. Like, I think that they sort of mentioned doing this as like a PR stunt, and then China made it a pissing contest. And now, like, we have written checks that Nancy Pelosi's ass has to cash. She's going to die. They're going to blow up her plane. That's my prediction. I think they're going to invade Taiwan. And I wonder what the Democrats do to that, because like the Taliban like took Afghanistan from them and they did nothing. Fucking Russia started that Ukrainian shit, and their response was, "Don't ever do that again, or we'll huff harder." And it says Riz22 says we'll just let the Japanese loose on them. Yeah, maybe. Like, I think the Japanese are a underestimated thing in all of this. Like, who knows what we have, you know, they're not supposed to have whatever, right? But like, who knows what they have built and just in storage waiting to be used. You can build whatever you want. They could have like, a whole fleet of some modern crazy fucking sky ship or something just waiting in the wings that we don't even fucking know about. I think it's funny is Japan is still run by the emperor's descendants. Still, it's still the same Japan. So like, that's another one that like, fuck, if we do take a lesser stance in the Asian sphere of influence, Japan and China are going to have one hell of a fucking war. And really, I think at this point, Japan and America are just tied at the hip so much that it's Japan and America are about to kick China's ass. Like, that's what we're about to watch. Hopefully. If it doesn't go that way, then we're about to get a lot poorer. Yeah. Who is building carriers, Japan or China? I know China's building carriers, but China's carriers won't be ready in time to fucking help them for this shit. Like, that'll be an issue several years from now if they survive the bombing campaigns. I think China starting to build a navy is one of those reasons that's causing us to go to war. And it's one of those like, we like to pretend that we don't have an empire. We play that game a lot of the time. But like, if you look at a country that we have military bases in, we probably have a shitload of economic dealings there. Those are our colonies. You either do business with us or you get cut off. And like, that's the thing that is pissing these people off. Yeah, if Japan is building carriers, then they are let loose. So they weren't supposed to do that. And that may just be that they've said, fuck it. America's not going to be able to protect us from China. Or that could be that, we told them to do that because we weren't going to be able to protect them from China. It's hard to tell. Honestly, it's scary as shit that Japan is going to be rearmed again. Like, the Japanese are not very nice people. And they have a long memory. I would be concerned that they remember all of that shit that happened. I don't know. Well, all that shit that happened, I mean, like the fucking nuclear bombs and, you know, invading their country and making them surrender. They take all that shit real personally, I would imagine. There's got to be somebody over there that's butthurt about that shit. Like, I think what we're seeing in the world now is there's lots of people that for one reason or another, have decided that, life's short. We might as well handle this shit now. I think Putin was the one that really like initiated this, right? But like, tell me you don't see that when you look at Putin. He's getting older. Who's Putin going to hand his empire over to? Nobody knows. Like, he needs to be in a stronger position than he is in now. And where they're at now, there won't be a Russia in 100 years. That's why he's fighting. China's fighting for face. Basically, they want respect. They want to increase their sphere of influence. They would like Taiwan because it's strategically important for their military campaigns and shit. It's, any invasion we would launch into China would come from Taiwan more than likely. That's why they want that. And once they have a navy built, like I would imagine either China or Japan, one or the other, is going to start colonizing all those Pacific islands for their resources. Like during World War II, the reason Japan was going all those places was to get shit to build shit with. And that was the reason why they went to war in the first place, because the US was fucking with their ability to get materials. Oil in particular, oil and steel, they were buying from the United States, and we started cutting them off because of things they were doing in China. It's amazing how involved in Asian politics America has pretty much always been. For whatever reason, we've been able to open up trade to a lot of different places that always just killed the Westerners. Which honestly, at this point, can you blame them? I think they were better as they were. I hope Japan is on our side. If they are, that would make things better. Because like us and Japan versus China would be better, but I think in reality it's China, Iran, Russia, maybe Saudi Arabia and Mexico all ganging up. If it is Mexico, that one's going to be interesting. And the thing that I see there is not that it's the Mexican government, but that the cartels actually run Mexico, and that you could turn the cartels on us pretty easy. Especially if, like, I went in there as the Chinese government, said, hey, I'll back you in a coup against the Mexican government, but now you work for us against America. Like, there's some people that might be bought into that. Although I would think most Mexicans would realize how fucking crazy that is. But, like, there's a lot of those guys that I think are like Tuco from fucking Breaking Bad, where he's like, is that Breaking Bad or the Lawyer Show? Better Call Saul. It was one of those. But where he's like taking a fucking like Bowie knife and crushing up crystal meth and snorting it off the fucking knife and shit. That's the guy the Chinese are going to go talk to. So he may have less concerns about the survival of Mexico. We live in a scarier world now. Fucking Nancy Pelosi. I really can't believe that bitch is going to be the cause of all of this shit. Like, if we were writing this as a fiction, like 20 years ago, no one would have believed that Nancy Pelosi would be the triggering event for World War III. Or visiting Taiwan. Well, you guys have any last thoughts? I think I'm going to cut this off at an hour, and that's another like 5 minutes. I hope we're not at war, but I think it's highly likely that we are. Sounds like China's mobilizing, like from what Al Jazeera was saying. I think it's funny that an old woman in a 747 visiting an island causes you to mobilize your military. Let's refresh the news one last time too. See if there's anything new. China is fuming, according to Reuters. Wall Street Journal has live updates. Let's see what that is. I would go look at Wall Street Journal and New York Times. They have live updates on this stuff. I know those aren't particularly, good places to get news normally, but with what's going on, that's probably going to be as good as you're going to get. There's Fox and shit like that. Try one of the big news channels maybe, but I think I'm going to go start calling people. It's like, seriously, this changes what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, probably. I don't know about the rest of y'all. I would start prepping really, really hardcore if you weren't already. Motherfucker, I need a saw and a roof rack. I need to go shopping now. I'll see you guys later. I'm just going to cut this off here, I think. Go fill your gas cans. Go fill your gas tanks. Buy extra canned food if you can. I'd buy an extra set of tires if you can. Some ammunition. Water. I would get cases of water. Toilet paper is good to have. Get all of the stuff people always buy whenever they fucking panic. It's like, there's not going to be everybody panicking yet because of this, because nothing's been blown up yet. But like, that's inevitable now. It looks like if what Al Jazeera and the Wall Street Journal is saying is true, like, I would load up my shit and head for my bug out location. If you have one. If you don't have one, I'd wait a little longer. But like, if you have someplace to be, I would go. I'll see you guys later.